Tacoma mods can damage your truck. Should you be afraid of Tacoma mods? Well, good morning, everybody. How are you today? Pretty good here. So it's true, Tacoma mods can damage your truck, but should you be afraid? Should you be fearful of Tacoma mods? I would say yes. You know, I wouldn't go into the Tacoma modding process without a little bit of fear. So what am I talking about? Well, let's start off with simple things here. The tires, right? I mean, I know a lot of people want and put on bigger wheels and tires. And there are a few things that you should be fearful of, I think, when you do that. Number one, are they going to fit? I mean, obviously, they've got to clear the back here when you turn, and they've got to clear the front as well. Now, I had problems with mine, even though I had a lift, and we'll get to that in a couple of minutes. You also have to be wary of the UCA back here, right? I mean, there's nothing worse than putting on something new and having it rub or not work. I mean, imagine going at a fairly high speed, turning your wheel, hitting a bump, and having the tread on that tire, the more aggressive, destructive tread, grab a hold of your fender. This whole piece is probably going to be gone, right? So yeah, you should be fearful when you do a new tire setup, and that fear should lead you to do a little more research, right? Make sure that you go with something that's going to fit and isn't going to cause trouble. Now, what about the lift? You know, I think I'm on my third lift, I think, on this truck. And the reason is because apparently I wasn't afraid enough. You know, I went out, I did some research and kind of picked what I wanted to do and went with it. But I wasn't really knowledgeable enough, I don't think, on what might happen. And what I'm talking about there, of course, is really ride quality, handling, road feel, all the stuff that goes along with changing the suspension a bit. You know, when I did it the first time, the truck was rough. I mean, it was really rough. And part of that was the tire setup, which is another thing you should be concerned with changing tires. But it was really rough. The second time I did it, I had a bounce. Going down the freeway at about 55, maybe 60 miles an hour, the truck would do this. And it was bad. It was really bad. And it wasn't alignment or anything. It was, I think, just the type of lift that I put on in conjunction with the tires that I had. It just wasn't a great setup. I did change both, of course. The lift I have on there now is perfect for this truck, I think, although it is rough. You know, when I hit any kind of a dent in the road, a divot, any kind of railroad tracks, anything like that, I mean, it slams over them. And you feel it. You feel it in the cockpit, and it is rough. So be afraid, be wary, do your research when it comes to lifts. Next up is lighting. Now, what am I talking about with lighting? You know, I think a lot of people think that you can just throw lighting into a truck, connect it to the battery, it's no big deal. Well, there are a few things to be concerned with. Number one, do you have it connected properly? I mean, the last thing you want to do is plug that battery back in, reconnect it, and hear a pop. You know, and hopefully you get that pop if there's something wrong, because that means the fuse blew. God forbid it doesn't blow and the wire starts to melt because you have something wrong, right? You need to make sure that you do it right and be aware that it can cause problems. You know, I put a couple of videos out recently talking about a drained battery. And one of the electrical mods I did a while back, and it was the accessory, the wireless accessory switch, did cause a parasitic drain on the system, and my battery went dead. I went out one morning, tried to start the truck, click, click, just wouldn't start. I had to put a charger on it, bring the battery back up, because it had sat for a while, and that accessory switch, because it was directly wired, caused a parasitic, a vampire drain on the system, and I had to change the way it was wired. Live and learn. And you know, I was aware that it would cause a drain in the beginning. The directions that I got mentioned that it could happen if the truck sat for a long time. Well, define long time. I didn't think it sat for a long time. But I just didn't want to go through the motions and set it up the right way because it involved an extra step and an extra part. But in the end, I should have just done it right to begin with, and that never would have happened. Now, the last one, and this one seems so simple, even badge and sticker removal. Now, what am I talking about? Well, on my truck, for example, I removed the Tacoma badge over here. I removed the stickers down the side of the truck, you know, where it said TRD off-road. And then back here, I took off the V6 sticker and the 4x4 because frankly, or badges, I should say, frankly, I just like it better the way it looks right now. And of course, the dealer sticker, the little advertisement they put on there, I removed that the day I picked it up. But there are some concerns in doing that, right? I mean, you're messing with your paint. And I've heard so many bad ideas on how to get those off. You know, everything from using something abrasive, a razor blade, and those wheels that supposedly remove stickers and things. I would never use anything that's hooked up to a power tool that turns against my paint. I don't care what anybody says. It's a bad idea. You have to take your time. But you can't have other problems. I've heard of people removing some of those badges and the paint chipping off. Probably a bad paint job to begin with. Maybe it wasn't quite dry when the badge or the sticker was applied. Not a good thing. I've heard of people having shadowing in the paint. Probably depends on how long it's been on, but the paint's gonna fade some over time, right? I mean, if you live in an environment like I do, where usually it's sunny outside, not so much today, that paint is gonna fade after a while. And if you've had the truck, or maybe it's a late model and you've just decided to take off the badging, you could have a different color underneath. Something else to be aware of. Again, I mentioned the way that it's taken off. You can scratch the paint if you're not careful, even with a thumbnail. I know, I've done it before. You want to be careful when you're doing that, and you should be afraid when you're doing it so that you're more cautious. I would never go out there, just grab a corner and rip it off. Might get it done, might be off, but you're gonna have a problem potentially, either with damaging the paint or maybe even breaking the badge as you do it and it goes in and scratches the paint. Wouldn't that be ironic? What a drag. Anyway, yeah, I do think that Tacoma mods can be dangerous for your truck, can damage your truck, but you just need to be a little bit fearful, a little bit afraid. Take your time and make sure that you do it right. Leave a comment, let me know if you've ever done any of these things and maybe you weren't fearful enough and had some sort of an issue after the fact. I'd be curious to know. And what was your resolution? Don't forget, I have two other channels. The first is RobMotive JT, all about my 2020 Jeep Gladiator. And the second is RobMotive Civic, about my experiences with the Honda Civic Type R and the Honda Civic Sport Hatchback. Check them out, and if you're interested, why not subscribe? Don't forget to click that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. And do me a favor, smash that subscribe button on the way out. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.